you're alone on the road, night swallowing everything around you, your fuel running low, your phone almost dead, and the nearest town miles away. Now, imagine a warm, glowing hotel sign appearing in the distance. A welcoming light in the middle of a cold, endless night. You pull in, grateful for shelter, grateful for a bed, grateful that you're not alone anymore. But what if I told you that some hotels do not welcome guests? Some hotels hunt them. And the place Daniel Briggs checked into wasn't offering hospitality. It was offering him. Daniel Briggs had been driving since sunrise. A simple business trip gone wrong because of a GPS malfunction, an unexpected storm, and a detour that led him deeper into unfamiliar countryside. Rain slapped the windshield so hard, it blurred the world into streaks of silver. Fog settled low on the ground, thick enough to hide the road edges, and the forest on both sides of the highway seemed to press inward, almost as if the trees were leaning closer. His fuel light blinked, his nerves frayed. Every few minutes he checked his phone, hoping signal would return. It never did. After nearly 2 hours of driving blindly through the storm, a shape materialized through the fog. A wooden sign illuminated by an old lantern swinging in the wind. The building behind it glowed warmly through the rain. Tall windows, lit porch lamps, neat stone walkway. It looked out of place, too perfect, like something waiting. But Daniel, exhausted and soaked in dread, didn't care. He needed rest. He turned into the driveway. Daniel parked and stepped out into the chilling rain. Thunder cracked overhead as he made his way to the front entrance. He reached for the handle, but the door opened before he touched it. A man stood behind it, tall and unnervingly pale, dressed in an old-fashioned uniform that looked like it belonged in a history museum. The man did not blink. He did not smile. He simply said, "Good evening, Mr. Briggs." Daniel froze. He hadn't introduced himself. He hadn't given his name. "How did you know who I am?" he asked. The receptionist tilted his head slightly. "A fortunate guess," he replied smoothly. "Please, step inside. You must be tired." Inside the lobby, Daniel noticed something off. The staff moved strangely, slow, deliberate motions. Their eyes followed him, not with curiosity, but something deeper, almost like hunger. A maid pushing a cleaning cart stopped mid-step as he passed. A bellhop paused in the middle of polishing a frame. Every head turned toward him. Every stare lingered. Their stillness felt unnatural. He tried to shrug it off. He was tired, maybe imagining things. The receptionist handed him a large metal key attached to a faded red tassel. "Room 209. "Your room is ready," the man said. "Please rest well. We'll take care of everything else." Daniel didn't like how he said that, but he forced a smile and headed for the stairs. The hallway felt too quiet, carpet muffling every step, lights flickering softly as though struggling to stay alive. When Daniel unlocked room 209, a faint odor of damp wood greeted him. The room felt old, frozen in time. A dusty armchair sat by the window, wallpaper peeling at the corners. A single painting of a forest hung crooked on the wall. He tossed his bag down, showered quickly, and collapsed onto the bed. But sleep refused to come. At first it was faint, a dragging sound, like fingertips sliding across the wall outside his room. Then a whisper, too soft to make out, too close to ignore. Daniel sat up, listened. Knock, 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 slow, heavy, unmistakable. He approached the door quietly, heart pounding. When he opened it, no one was there, but fresh wet footprints led down the hallway, before abruptly disappearing halfway through. His skin crawled, he shut the door and locked it tight. Unable to shake the feeling that something was wrong, Daniel went back downstairs to speak to the receptionist. But the lobby was dark now, silent, empty. A lone chandelier swayed slowly overhead, creaking like an old ship. The front desk was unattended, but the leather-bound guest log lay open. Daniel glanced at it, just to distract his anxious thoughts. Then something caught his attention. Every entry was dated years apart, never more than one guest every few years. And next to every name, a single long red line slashed violently across the page. Except one, his. As he stared at the unmarked entry, a cold breath brushed the back of his neck. "You shouldn't be here, Mr. Briggs." Daniel spun. The receptionist stood directly behind him, expression shadowed and unreadable. "In this hotel," the man continued, "guests rest. They don't wander." Daniel muttered an apology and backed away, retreating to his room. But something inside him knew. He wasn't safe here. At exactly 2:14 a.m., Daniel woke with a jolt. The room was pitch black, air cold enough to bite. Then he heard it, breathing, slow, deep, deliberate, coming from the far corner of the room. Lightning flashed, illuminating a figure taller than the doorframe. It wasn't human. It wore a staff uniform, but its skin was pale gray, stretched unnaturally tight. Its eyes were wide, glossy, empty, and its mouth hung open, filled with razor-like teeth. Daniel froze. The creature inhaled sharply, as though savoring his scent. "You smell awake," it whispered. He lunged for the door, yanked it open, and sprinted into the hallway without looking back. The creature screeched, a sound that didn't belong to anything living. Daniel ran blindly through the halls, but they no longer made sense. Corners twisted into new shapes. Corridors stretched into impossible lengths. The lights flickered faster with each step he took. Behind him, multiple footsteps. Not one creature, but many. Claws clicking against the floor, bare feet slapping rhythmically, shuffling movements, quick and frantic. He turned into a staff corridor, hoping to lose them. Instead, he found something worse. The walls were covered in photographs. Hundreds. Every one of them a portrait of a terrified guest in their final moments. Mouths open in screams, eyes filled with dread. Time of death labeled beneath each picture. Daniel scanned desperately, and then he found his own. But the timestamp read, tomorrow, 2:14 a.m. His blood turned to ice. He backed away and stepped on a loose floorboard that creaked loudly. The footsteps behind him stopped. Then the chase continued, faster, closer, eager. Daniel burst through a metal door and stumbled down a flight of stairs. He landed in a cold basement filled with flickering blue candles. Symbols were carved into the floor, and at the center stood the hotel staff. But now their disguises had faded. Their skin was black-veined and corpse-like. Their mouths split unnaturally wide, eyes hollow, glowing faintly in the candlelight. The receptionist stepped forward. "You weren't supposed to wake up," he said softly. "We keep our guests comfortable. We help them stay forever." Daniel bolted toward the stairs, but the door he came through had vanished. Only a solid wall remained. He was trapped. Scanning the room frantically, he spotted a ventilation grate trembling slightly. He rushed to it, kicked it open, and crawled inside. The creature shrieked behind him, claws scraping the metal as they followed. The tunnel was tight, claustrophobic, every breath echoing. He dragged himself forward inch by inch until he reached another grate. With the last of his strength, he kicked it open. Rain poured in, wind howled. He tumbled out into the storm, landing in mud and tall grass. From behind him, the hotel doors swung open violently, but none of the creatures crossed the threshold. They stood at the entrance, hissing softly in the rain, as though something ancient bound them to the building. Daniel didn't look back again. He ran until the forest gave way to the main road. By dawn, he finally found help. When police returned with him, Rosehaven Inn was gone. Nothing remained but an empty clearing. No foundation, no rubble, no debris, just silence. Weeks passed. Daniel tried to move on, but sleep never came peacefully again. Then, one evening, a small package arrived at his apartment. No return address. Inside was a brass hotel key. Old, cold. Engraved with the number 209 and a note, "You forgot something. Your room is still waiting." As Daniel read the message, a soft noise echoed from behind the wall. A dragging sound. Slow, familiar. Then, knock,